The town of Berlin. Country charm at the center of Connecticut.
Here. So welcome everybody to the town council meeting. We will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. 8 roll call.
Councilor Jellicoe Stetson. Here. Mayor Kaczynski.
Here.
Councilor Letty.
Here.
Councilor Payanessa.
Here.
Councilor Rosser. Rosso.
Here.
Councilor Uranaga.
Here.
Councilor.
You got Uranaga, but not Rosso.
Yeah, right. I get the
Councilor Beach.
just the easy.
I've been called worse.
Okay, we're all here. Okay, so I don't see Karen anywhere. Okay,
Oh,
so-
yeah,
Is she-
no,
is she not coming?
Karen's got work and
Okay.
parental
Okay.
obligations that are
Okay.
going to preclude her from getting here, so she
Okay.
asked that I get the proclamation on her behalf.
Sure.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you,
There you go.
thank you.
Okay, so next is our audience of citizens.
Mayor?
Yes. Oh, okay, we have a sign-up sheet. Okay. You don't have to sign up, but we'll take the people that signed up first. And I asked that whatever topic you're speaking on, just if you could be, succinct, and we have a lot of we have a lot of things on our agenda, so we, certainly want to hear what you have to say, and also obviously be courteous to everyone else in our meeting. Goes without saying. The first name is it Dave Kobus? Yes, sir. Come on, you got to come up to the mic, state your name and address, and happy to hear it.
Dave Kobus, 21 Fairview Drive.
Yes, sir.
It was recently brought to my attention that we have a problem at Berlin High School with children being able to pee and poop when needed. Specifically, the administration has made a decision to lock certain bathrooms for extended periods of time. I was informed that the reason they're locking these bathrooms is because there are people that have made the bathroom their place to vape and use drugs and do other things that should not be taking place at Berlin High School. I've spoken to children that have been late to class because they have to go to other floors to use the bathroom, and it's not right. We spent a lot of money for this high school. We continue to pay for this high school, and the administration at the high school, the Board of Education, needs to find a solution to keep these bathrooms open all the time so that the children can pee and poop when they need to and not be in line. I brought the toilet paper up here to drive it home. My main purpose in being here tonight is to talk about the bathroom. The secondary reason that I'm here is because I got an email this morning about this resolution regarding gun violence, prevention, and measures. It was edited by Councilor Joanne Angelico Stetson. There will be people that speak after I do that I am sure will get very specific as to why the town council should vote no on this. I say vote no on this because, number one, this is not the place, and number two, this was written with an obvious bias. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just a question while you're still here. Have you brought your first concern to the Board of Education as well?
Speaking with some of the parents, they have already done that. I'm bringing it to your attention so that this gets resolved quickly because there are children that are holding their pee and their poop, and it's not right.
We appreciate the information, and we will pass along that to the Board of Ed and the superintendent as well. Thank you. The next person on the list, Brian Corbino. That endeth the list right here. So we'll take hands after if there's anybody else. Welcome, sir. Name and
Brian Corbino, 167 Berwyn Street, Southington.
Thank you.
Good evening, honorable members of the Berlin Town Council. I've read your proposed resolution regarding gun violence prevention measures, and I've taken the liberty of writing a briefer, more succinct variant that I think...
Excuse me. Did you say you're from Kensington?
Southington,
Southington.
yes.
I don't think there's anything prohibiting anyone from speaking to us.
You're proposing
I know of.
communications with the United States Congress, and we do share a representative and 2 senators.
Yeah, I believe at other meetings we've had people from other towns speak. Huh? Yeah, as far as I know, I don't think there anything that prohibits that. Certainly, I didn't see anything in the charter, and I don't believe there's anything that does. As long as it's a issue germane to what the council's business is, as far as I know. What, Counselor, what?
I agree with that, yes.
Okay.
So, as I said, I've taken the liberty of writing the resolution in a briefer language. Whereas we do not know anything about guns, and whereas all we have left is crass emotional manipulation to advance our agenda, and whereas nobody believes all our made-up statistics anymore, and whereas 25,000 laws on the books have done nothing to prevent gun violence, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of Berlin calls on the United States Congress to immediately reconvene in order to pass even more ineffective laws for the purpose of making felons out of peaceful citizens while doing nothing to address the underlying causes of violence in America. I hope you will take this new language under advisement.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that was the end of the sign-up sheet. So now, if anyone else wishes to speak, sir, next up.
Tim Grady, Beckley Road. I have some questions about this gun violence resolution. First question is, whereas high-capacity assault weapons and large-capacity ammunition magazines serve no legitimate purpose in civilian society. Who decided that? I'd just like an answer. Who decided that they serve no purpose? People hunt with them. People shoot recreationally with them. They're the most common firearm in the whole country. So how did all of a sudden they become, have no legitimate purpose? The next thing is with respect to open and carry, concealed carry in Connecticut. Are you calling for an outright ban on carrying a weapon in Connecticut? Because that's what it says here. My next question is the ban on high-power assault weapons. I thought this was just about I thought it was just about violence prevention. You're talking about a ban on weapons. Are you going to confiscate these weapons? Is that the plan? Nobody seems to have an answer to this. All in all, I'd say that this is not worth the paper it's written on, and I hope the council votes it down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else in the audience wishes to speak on any issue before the council? Yes, sir. And name and address for the record, please.
Michael Parise, 39 Edgerly Street. The same thing with the gun ban that you guys are talking about. We all know that bad things can happen, but there's an awful lot of good people, the majority of good people that have them. Doing something like this to the good people is, like it was brought up tonight, is going to turn good people into felons. Not a good idea in my book. How many things do we ban? Last night we had a bad incident in New Haven with a towel. Do we ban backpacks and towels? I mean, where does it end? At some point, we need to hit what the cause is. That's it. There's too much of this. Let's ban this, let's ban that. It's ridiculous. The guns aren't jumping off the shelves. None of them are. Has one ever jumped off a shelf? Has anyone here seen one jump off a shelf? Come on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You seen eagles jump off the shelf?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, please. Name and address, please.
My name is Mila Bennett, and I live at 1167 Worthington Ridge. Also on the gun ban. We can have as many laws as we can until we're blue in the face, but it doesn't stop the gun violence, and it doesn't stop criminals. Everybody's so gung-ho about banning this and banning that. How about being gung-ho about the real issue? The mental issue, mental health issue. Behind every single shooting is an individual with a mental health issue. People can't afford mental health therapy or drugs or whatever it takes to get that person stabilized so that they won't create these shootings. And unfortunately, there's been too many stories where people would advise the police authority about a certain individual that has a mental health issue. And for some reason, because nothing has happened yet, they ignore it. And then sooner or later, that individual gets up and creates this chaos. Nobody here, no matter what party you're from, wants gun violence. But again, you can put as many laws as you can on the good people because it's the good law-abiding citizens that are paying for this. But like I said, you can put as many laws as you can until we're blue in the face, but it's not going to stop the violence. We need to address the mental health issues, just like we're so gung-ho about, about the gun laws. Let's address the mental health issues. Let's help those. Let's help those kids. Let's put some classroom type of ideas to protect these kids and to educate these kids and to know that there's help for them and that nobody's going to shun them out so that they won't get so angry to the point where they'll take a gun and shoot whatever and whoever. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, anyone else wishes to speak? Okay, seeing no other hands, I will go ahead and close the audience of citizens in this part of the meeting. So, folks, for those of you waiting for any particular agenda item, we'll just go through our agenda. The resolution that many of you spoke about is a little bit near the end of our agenda, but we will get through this agenda as quickly as possible with the other town business. And then it is on our agenda for discussion tonight, the resolution. So, moving on to our consent agenda, we have how many do we have? 4 topics. Well, I know had our agenda ahead of time. We have waiving some fees, Emma Hart Willard School PTO, Berlin Helping Foundation to waive the cost of 2 police officers associated with a flag football game, some monetary donations to the library for various CDs, books, and different things, and a donation to the Police Peer Support Program expenditure account. So, take a motion on our consent agenda.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the 4 items on the consent agenda tonight.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. On to new business.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. First item on the agenda is a Homeland Security Memorandum of Agreement, and I'm going to invite Matt Odishu, Emergency Management Director, to give you a brief overview of this agenda item that happens every year. It's a resolution that's required by Homeland Security, Connecticut Department of Emergency Planning.
Hey, Matt.
Hello there. We seem to do this every year.
We do.
We've tried to discuss with CROG about doing a long-term resolution, but it kind of falls on deaf ears. This goes back as far as when CREPSI was an association with the state, and they're long gone. Basically, in a nutshell, what this is they're holding Homeland Security money from a group of towns, and they basically will distribute it as, they'll purchase for the entire CROG region. So basically, they're just the holders of our money right now, as with the other, I don't even know how many towns are involved in this, but this is just the annual resolution allowing them to manage that money for us.
Okay. And have just out of curiosity, in the past, have we gotten What do we?
We
what have
do
we
get
got
some
with-
supplies from them. We get some things from Homeland Security from them. It was, obviously and sadly, it was very big right after 9/11, and each town managed their own money. And as things slowed down, it was just easier to have one association manage all the money for the region. And that's basically how it ended up with CREPSI, and then rolled over into CROG when CREPSI was disbanded.
Okay. So there is some funding that we still make?
Yeah, we still have some funding in there, and I'll be totally honest with you, it's kind of obscure as to how we get to our funds, but I'm going to do a little bit more of searching into that this year, because if there are things that we need,
Right.
and we can get them, I don't mind being lumped in with everybody else if they're going to buy something for the whole region, but I still think we should have the ability to take money out if we need it for something specific for Berlin, so.
Okay. Good. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll go ahead and, I guess, vote on this resolution. All those in favor of the resolution for the State Department of Emergency
That
Services?
moved and seconded?
Huh?
No.
No, I was going to say what the resolution was. So it's a resolution for the emergency services and public protection. So we'd have a motion to.
Okay. I move to authorize a resolution that the Berlin Town Council may enter into with and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection any and all documents which it deems to be necessary or appropriate, and further resolve that Eros J. Wikrima, as interim town manager of the town of Berlin, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the Berlin Town Council, and to do and perform all acts and things she deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents, including but not limited to executing and delivering all agreements and documents contemplated by such documents.
Second.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, resolution passes. Thank you.
You guys all have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thank you, Matt. Agenda item number 2 is an update on the senior and the community center. Would invite Mike Cahoon, Director of Public Works, give you an update since the Public Building Commission has been working on this, and
Yes.
give you an opportunity to ask questions and
Hey,
some
Mike.
advice.
I'm here on behalf of the PBC Chair, Public
Okay.
Building Commission, so he couldn't make it. So, as some of you know, we received a grant from the state for the planning and design of a senior community center project. PBC took it, ran with it, had selected 4 sites. We issued an RFP. We got bids in October. We had 4 bids come in, ranging from $100,000 to $440,000, which was a pretty good range. We shortlisted 3 firms out of that, and the PBC interviewed 3 of the firms on November 7th. So as a result of the back and forth with some of the consultants, the PBC is seeking additional information from the 3 firms. Some of that came in today, so I think that's going to be basically evaluated in the next meeting, which is the December 12th for the PBC. So nothing much to report, but we're making progress. Right now, I think the next step will be selecting a consultant once the PBC decides which consultant to go with.
Okay. And thank you for that.
How long do you anticipate that will?
I think it's pretty quick. If it's not at the next meeting to make a decision on which consultant to select, it might be the next meeting. So, yeah, we're pretty far along.
Right, great, good to
The
hear.
interviews went very well. There were 3 capable firms, so I think the PBC is comfortable with moving forward.
Thanks. And when they pick this consultant, that's the person that will give us some conceptual design
Yeah, it will.
as they finish their work.
Yeah, the way the scope was laid out is there's 2 phases. One phase is about half of the fee, and so in round numbers, say $150,000, depending on who we go with. That will take us to schematic design, 20% level, where there'll be a pretty firm cost estimate and plans, actually to the point where you'll have elevations, building floor plans, mechanical plans, and at that point, it would go to referendum. So if the referendum is a no, then the rest of the fee will not be utilized. If it's a yes, then it would go to 50% level design documents, where it will come back, and then it could be bid as a design-build project.
Because we'll have, obviously, to go to referendum, we'll have the cost.
Yes, absolutely. That's a key component, yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Well, will they also pick a location?
There were 4 sites that the PBC thought were appropriate. The preferred site is across from the high school. We call it the Patterson Way site. We had Pistol Creek. There's a parcel out in front of Sage Park. There's about a 4 or 5 acre piece there. And then the least likely land area is actually on this property here by Kensington Road, but it's rocky, hilly, you know, but it was put in there just as a 4th alternative.
Now, will the consultant choose a site, or will he plan on all 4?
They're gonna, I think the way that initially the PBC had decided the Patterson Way site made the most sense. It's level, it's in a central area, good access. But after listening to some of the consultants in the interview process, I think they're going to go with evaluating all 4 so that they can come to you and say, we looked at all 4 and this is why we chose, you know, A, B, or C.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. With no action on that one, that was an update. Appreciate the update, because we always get quiz from our residents, as we should, and so now we do have the progress, what's going on and where we're at. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
Bird 3.
Agenda item number 3 is a offer from Department of Transportation to buy 3,500 square feet of land until they do some bridge work and then give it back to us for nothing.
Oh, well, that sounds way too good to be true.
No, it's true.
It's true.
It's true.
Can
Okay.
you frame this?
Yeah,
I'm going to explain
Yeah, wait a
this.
second.
We have, on Wildermere Road, we have a bridge. It's part of a 4-bridge project, preservation, and we're getting funding from the state on this. So, in a way, well, what's the reason that the state is trying to acquire our land, which is, we actually own the roadway, right-of-way, which has a street line, and then we own the river and the land up and downstream of the bridge, but they're separate from the right-of-way. So the DOT wants to make absolutely sure that nothing on the non-right-of-way land will interfere with bridge work in the future. So they're going to carve out 2 pieces, north and south, of the bridge that will wrap around the bridge components entirely, so that there'll be the right-of-way and these 2 parcels of land that will actually wrap around the bridge. So, and it's a weird situation where they're buying town land and then going to give it back to us. But that's the way the program works. But it does reserve those pieces of land from any future use except for the bridges. So they're going to pay us $1,800 and then give us back the land. So, and actually, it's federal money.
That just
Look at
makes,
the fine print.
doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but,
And it didn't to me, so I called up DOT and they said the reason is they want to make sure it's reserved for transportation purposes only and forever.
all right,
So,
okay. That's,
so as part of that, we need to do a Section 824 review.
Yeah.
Because it involves the sale of town land.
okay. Okay, no, I guess, we need to fix that bridge, so if that's the conduit to fix it, then, and that's our land anyway, right? And
Correct.
it's not, it doesn't look like it's hurting any homes, right? There's a
No,
couple homes near there, but not, right?
I think it was dedicated to the town after the subdivisions around it
Okay,
were developed.
okay.
It's river and stream bank.
Yeah, oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so what do we need tonight? Motion here? We need a motion?
Sure. I move to refer the matter of accepting the Connecticut Department of Transportation's offer of $1,800 for 2 portions of land totaling approximately 3,596 square feet adjacent to bridge number 06122 on Wildermere Road to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a Connecticut General Statute Section 824 review.
Second.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Agenda item number 4 has to do with transfer of money from a blue-collar line to mid-management personal line. I'm going to invite Kevin Delaney, our finance director, to give you an overview.
Okay, Kevin.
Good evening. As we go through the process day to day, there's always an evaluation if we're performing the way that is most optimal for the town. Going through that review, one of the structural elements that was reviewed was public grounds. A couple of years ago, you may recall that there was a change and the superintendent position was eliminated, consolidated in with highway. Foreman position was retained. And so in going through that process and evaluating the delivery of service to the town, the decision was made to reinstate that position, separating out highway and public grounds again. In that process, there were some subsequent promotions to have a superintendent, a foreman, a crew chief, so that we have the right people in place. Ultimately, the changes that were made had a net zero impact to the budget. That was one of the key inputs or key components. However, in doing so, it moved one of the positions from the blue-collar union and blue-collar budget line to the mid-manager line. And so this motion would be to take the funding and move existing budget dollars from the blue-collar line to the mid-manager so that we can pay appropriately.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Comments?
Easy enough.
Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Okay, I move to approve the transfer of $44,300 from the blue-collar personnel account to the mid-manager personnel account in the Public Grounds Department, pending approval of the Board of Finance.
Second.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Kevin.
Yep, agenda item number 5 is to call a
Still
town
here.
meeting.
Still here.
I got a few more for you.
I know.
There. December 10th has to do with the third party that we hired to collect property taxes and paying their fee for the money that they collected.
March of last year, the town's assessor came to you and proposed utilizing an audit firm. They're a nationally utilized firm. A number of communities surrounding Berlin had used this firm, and they operate on a contingent basis. So the only way they earn money is if they identify personal property that has not been declared by the business owner. We're able to ultimately tax the business owner for that and collect the money. So in order for the fee to be incurred, the town must receive the full amount of money. The fee is 30% of what we collect in the back taxes. So we're giving up 30 cents on the dollar, but these were dollars that were not in the budget, we were not aware of. And it also means it's put on the tax rolls going forward, so it will be identified into the future. Because it's been many years since we've done a personal property audit, there wasn't sufficient money put into the budget to account for this. So this motion is to call for a town meeting next council meeting or before the next council meeting. Per the charter, because the unbudgeted appropriation exceeds $25,000, it requires a town meeting where the electors have an opportunity to vote on the unbudgeted appropriation, and then if they pass it, it would then come to you for a vote and then go to the Board of Finance for a vote. So essentially, we're taking additional tax revenue that we did not have in the budget originally, asking to appropriate it to this expenditure account so we can pay the fee.
Okay. Well, it's great. I know we collected quite a bit of back taxes last year, so.
Yeah, I just will add one other piece, that the exposure is greater than what you see here. They have identified more than $170,000 of additional tax money.
Great.
So I may very well be back again, but I don't want to ask for an appropriation until we've actually collected the tax money. Otherwise, you would be appropriating something that doesn't exist.
Sure. Understandable. All right. Go ahead and make a motion on that.
Okay, I move to call a town meeting at 6:45 p.m. on December 10th, 2019 to approve an unbudgeted appropriation of $18,615 from the personal property taxes and back tax interest as detailed in the motion, accounts in the general fund to contractual services in the assessor's department, pending approval of the Board of Finance.
Second.
Thank you. Any other questions on this, comments? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 6 has to do with calling another town meeting on the same day at 6:45 on December 10th to approve unbudgeted appropriation of approximately 1.3 to cover pension-related cost.
Okay.
Everybody's favorite topic, our underfunded
yes.
pension plan.
Oh, it's always joy.
As part of the FY20 budget process, the Board of Finance elected to remove a substantial portion of the requested pension funding. The money that they left in there was to cover the cost of monthly annuity payments. Since the beginning of the fiscal year, we've had 2 of the 13 active members of the plan retire. And so we are down in funds to being able to pay for the monthly annuitants and maintain the minimum required balance of $300,000 that our administrator requires to have, that we have in the plan. So this funding is to supply what was originally requested in the budget. Because we ended fiscal year 19 with a surplus, this money had originally been part of the assigned fund balance. So in other words, when the budget was put forward, we had the expenditure line for the full actuarial determined contribution, and we had revenues, we had savings assigned in the budget. That way there wouldn't be a mill rate impact. Because the year ended with a surplus, we didn't actually need to use any of that savings, and yet we were able to fund these 2 pensions. So effectively, what we're asking to do is roll that forward and continue to bring forward savings. So this is, just to be clear, this is not using a piece of the FY19 surplus. This is actually using money that had been included in the previous budget and was not needed. We've been able to do this actually each of the last 3 years with surplus funds. Since we've generated a surplus, we've been able to roll it forward. I can tell you when we started this process, when I arrived a little over 3 years ago, we had 17 active members. We are, with these most recent 2 retirements, down to 11 active members, and we've been able to fully fund all 6. So we've honored our obligation. We don't always have typically we don't have a very strong balance, but we do continue to meet our obligations. We have a strong unassigned fund balance so that in the event all 11, worst case scenario, all 11 were to come forward and say, I'm retiring, the town actually does have the funds. I would come forward with a similar resolution and a much larger number. And we would be able to honor the obligation without incurring additional debt, without any risk of default or anything like that. So this is to continue maintaining the actuarial determined contribution and putting funds in so that if we have a couple more retirees before the next budget comes in, we'll have the funds to pay them.
Excellent.
That's great, thank you. And you know, for the benefit of the audience and just to, you know, we have just those 11 members left in our pension fund, and then it's all 401k based after that. So once those obligations get paid off and people retire, that obligation goes away. And there is a shortfall of several $1 million in that fund, but as you said, we have enough to cover it, and highly unlikely all 11 people would retire all at once anyway, but let's hope that doesn't happen, even though I know we can cover it, but as we...
Financially, we can cover
yes.
it. Just to give some perspective, of the 11 members, 9 are part of the police department,
right,
including the chief and deputy chief. So in the event, we could cover it financially, but we would be dealing with a public safety matter.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that to happen. That would not be good.
Evan, does this affect our rating?
It was actually a topic of discussion with the S&P call, but I say that in a good way, because well, I'll start with the bad news, which is when we started the call, the analyst from S&P said, we ran this by our actuaries, and their first response was, I've never seen a plan so poorly funded. Not exactly how you want to start it, but as we walked through how we're funding it, the process we're using, the success we've had, and the level of unassigned fund balance that we've realized, they actually noted in the report that while it's underfunded, the absolute dollar amount is not substantial relative to the entire budget or to the unassigned fund balance. So we're not in a great spot, but recognizing where we are, the steps we've taken, and the position we're in other areas mitigated it, and they actually viewed it as a strength that we've identified it and have shored up the unassigned fund balance to address it.
What's our unassigned fund balance now?
We were about 12.4 million. When the audit's done, we'll be north of that. We'll be at I'm going to say close to 14 million.
Oh, great. Okay, so what do we need here?
The meeting.
Motion. Oh, the meeting.
Yes.
We need a motion for the meeting.
Sure. I move to call a town meeting at 6:45 p.m. on December 10th, 2019, to approve an unbudgeted appropriation of $1,383,000 $666, from the unassigned general fund balance to the pension actuarial funding account in the general fund.
Second.
Okay, got that right?
Thank you for the second. Thank you for the motion. All those in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Got one more for you.
One more. I see that. I
Number
see that.
7.
One more, yes.
This has to do with transferring money from one line to another to do some preliminary work to try to get a cost estimates on the highway wash bay.
Okay.
Well, I know this has been a topic for a little while. Certainly something from a employee safety as well as multi-million dollars worth of equipment maintenance is an important initiative. This motion is to transfer from one of our funds to another to fund the architectural study and continue moving this project forward. One of the challenges with this project, and we faced it this year, is it really has to start, I'm going to say around Labor Day, if you're realistically going to ensure that it's completed before the following winter. And to do it in place where the existing wash bay is located means you're running the risk of taking away the entire wash area coming into the winter. So that's kind of why we need to start earlier on so we can complete the project before the winter months begin. Because of where this property is located, it abuts wetlands. We're dealing with the structural elements. We need to make sure that we go through a proper architectural study. It has to go before planning and zoning. It has to go before inland wetlands. And so this money is to start that process. The goal is to be able to do this work, the architectural work and others, in parallel with shoring up what we expect to be the permanent funding or the funding for the construction part of the project, so that as we get out into the spring and maybe early summer, we can be out to bid, and hopefully by Labor Day or even sooner, construction can take place. So next winter, it's an enclosed structure that's better for the workers, better for the vehicles. The money on page 2 of the attachment I had, you'll see it's to cover the anticipated architectural engineering fees and then testing, administrative, printing, legal. Those are estimates. To the extent that these funds are not needed for these elements, the intent would be to leave the funds in place to help offset the construction costs for the project. So it would be contained within that project.
Okay. I know we're trying to get this project moving forward, so yes.
I think it's a great project and we need it. I'm just confused on the format. How did it come about? Usually things like this, there's a need presented to the council and then it goes to the building commission, who actually put out the RFP to hire the architect and FV Consulting, whoever they are.
Well, there wasn't, the design would be to, or the work here would be to design the actual structure to then go out for an RFP.
Who hires the design team without the building commission? That's what's confusing.
Well, the ordinance requires using Public Building Commission for projects of $1 million or more. The proposals, the cost estimates that were originally given were well south of that number. So facilities began the process to try to get some stronger numbers, if you will, something that was more based in a schematic.
You answered my question. It didn't meet the threshold to go to the public building commission. Okay. Now I understand. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on this one? So we'll take a motion on this.
Okay, move to approve the transfer of $35,800 from the transfer to other funds account in the Griswold Portable Classroom Fund to Highway Wash Bay account in the Capital Non-Recurring Fund, pending the approval of the Board of Finance.
Second on it.
Second.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments on this? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Agenda item number 8 is the same topic, physical services
bay.
complex, truck wash bay. It needs to go to Public Buildings Section 824 review.
Yep.
And this is the action that we're asking is for you to authorize that.
So that's for planning and zoning to review it. So just, I know Charlie kind of asked that question the last motion here, but, so the 440,000, obviously that's something, the construction of this is gonna go out to bid at some point, right?
Yes.
I mean, and also, we can use at least I would hope, the expertise of the Public Building Commission. Understand it wouldn't be a formal referral to them because it's not over the $1 million threshold in the charter, but just, that's what they do. You know, I know most of those members are in the construction trade, so.
Mike Ahern just had a conversation today with the PBC, and
Okay.
they'll be happy to take a look at it.
Take a look at
we'll
it?
do that.
Okay.
When it's time. So this particular one that Kevin mentioned, getting architectural and engineering, would, even for us to go out to an RFP, we'll need that.
They need that anyway.
Specifications anyway. So once we get an RFP, there are 2 or 3 different avenues that we can go. Doug, you talk about Guardian. This is the group that state already has
Right.
pricing. Go through CROG, and we'll put out to a couple of other folks.
Yeah.
The other numbers that you have is an estimate.
Okay.
But the actual RFP, putting that out, will give you the pricing, and we will certainly get PBC involved to tap into their expertise as we go through this.
Okay, so we just are dealing here with rough estimates.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, I'm sure they're in the ballpark somewhere, but we'll get to the real price, huh?
It's a big ballpark.
Yes, I do agree. Charlie mentioned, and I'm far from Mr. Construction guy, but it seems like almost $500,000 for one bay to wash trucks seems excessive to me. But what, you know, I mean, that's.
There's no prohibition against having Public Building Commission help us with this, is there?
I don't think so. I was going to check with Jeff. I don't think so.
I don't believe
doing
so.
due diligence.
I'll confirm that with Jeff as well.
They've dealt with this stuff consistently. Any input we can get is good input.
Yeah.
Extra layer of due diligence always helps.
Yeah. I mean, we all want the project. We want it yesterday for our town employees and for our equipment, but, you know, obviously we want to do it as economically for the town, spending our tax dollars as possible, so, okay. So, okay, we have a motion that we have to make on
Sure.
this item.
Move to refer the matter of constructing a fully enclosed truck wash facility at the Physical Services Complex to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a Section 824 review as per the Connecticut General Statutes.
Second it?
Second on that, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Number 9.
Number 9 has to do with security window film installation in the Berlin High School. Doug, you're here. I might as well invite you here. Use the same group that has worked on the project, so asking for a bid waiver.
Good evening. Welcome back, and to new counselors, welcome aboard. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, this will be our 5th and final school to receive the film. The high school had already begun construction for the renovation prior to the security grant being awarded to the town, so this is the last school to receive the film. It's consistent with what the other 4 schools have. Same installer, same product, same warranties. So we'll be consistent district-wide with our security film.
That's great. I mean, we've spent a lot of money in our school system over the last year. I think upwards of $1 million to keep our schools secure. So this is the last piece, right? The vestibules all done now?
Vestibules are substantially complete. A few punch list items, and we're working with the Board of Ed and IT, school security department to continue on with additional security measures, cameras, access control, and several other projects that qualify within the grant.
Yeah, we still have more things going, and that's good that some of it's paid for by grants. It's not all of us, all the Berlin taxpayers. Okay, that's good to get the last school with the film on the window. Okay, so we'll go ahead and any other questions? And take a motion?
Okay, move to waive the town's bidding procedures and award a contract in the amount of $140,280, which includes a 10% contingency to the authorized 3M installer in Connecticut, Millard Enterprises of Cromwell, Connecticut, as this is in the best interest of the town.
Second.
Second on that, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Number 10.
Item number 10 is the Complete Count 2020 Census Committee. And Kate has generously volunteered me to be the chair of the committee, and we have started forming the committee as we have been informed by the Lieutenant Governor's office to do so, and I think it's an important initiative, and I'll turn it over to Kate to add a few more words.
Census guru?
Yes.
Thank you. In fact, it was interesting. Sunday morning, the Lieutenant Governor was on TV pushing for these core committees to be formed from the different towns and cities. The interesting thing, of course, in Berlin is that why I would hope that people would willingly do this. It's the areas that are sensitive and vulnerable. The turnpike, the elderly, people who may be a little nervous to fill this out. We want to make sure that they're comfortable and that they have a contact, whether it becomes the town manager's office or the town clerk or the library or the senior center or whoever, so that if there's questions, concerns, whatever, we can help them. As we all know, the more money we can get, the money's there. We want our share of it. So we want to make sure that the students are counted and their parents and that whole bit. So it's great. I'm really excited about the committee so far. Both Arosh and Chris Edge are going to also reach out to some of our larger business and hopefully get them involved also. And I think it will be a really good, I want to be very strong in Berlin. So, because you know how I feel about Berlin.
Yes. We all do. Yes.
Just what struck me in reading it is that there's no one from the kids, like from the high school.
The superintendent is on right now.
I understand that.
And and the other thing is, I thought where you were going to go with that was different. But this is part of the motion is that we can continue to expand the committee. And I'm speaking for the the interim town manager, but Brian wants to be involved, the superintendent wants to be involved in it first, and then at that point, push it out more. Okay, so this is just the start of it. But also, I don't know if anyone from the council would like to be on it. So.
I wouldn't mind.
Would you? Okay, good. All right, so, because that's what we want to do, is expand it as much as we can. And we'll keep you posted, but we'll make sure that.
Well, only because they're savvy
Yeah.
when it comes to communication. I mean, they can find a reason and a person to go anywhere at any time for anything. And,
Okay.
I really think it'd be to the committee's benefit to include as many young people. You got the student council at the high school or
Yeah.
Sure.
seniors. I mean, having grandsons, I'm amazed by the communication.
I think maybe
That's
some
for
of the
sure.
coaches, as you're talking, I'm thinking maybe even get some of them if we can. I don't know. I'm open.
I would look to the student council.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we want to make sure everyone's voice is heard, like you said, and everybody's counted, and we know it means, there's some financial benefit to doing that, as well as making sure that the census is accurate, right? I mean, that's.
Yeah.
There's also student liaisons to the Board of Ed. There's 2 student liaisons.
Oh, right, that's right, yeah.
You
I mean,
could either defer to or ask them if perhaps they want to
Okay.
participate.
Makes sense. But so as it goes forward, we can start with, if we approve the motion tonight, start with this core group and then move it forward to.
And what I envision really is having the interim town manager just report back periodically on anyone
That'd be
who
great.
has been
Yep.
wants to come forth on the committee.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well,
That way it is fluid, and it's only until through March and April, so.
Okay, yeah.
I was going to say, Eversource just signed up this afternoon.
What's that?
They agreed to serve on the committee, Eversource.
Oh, they did?
Oh, they did, good.
Oh, okay.
All right, good.
All right.
All right.
That's good.
Okay, good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Okay. Move to approve creating a Berlin Census 2020 Complete Count Committee with the above-named individuals to encourage a complete and accurate account and to allow the committee to appoint additional individuals as the committee deems necessary.
Second to motion?
Thank you for the second. Any further comments or questions on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, number 11 is our resolution on gun violence prevention measures. It is on here for a discussion regarding the attached resolution. So what?
I was just going to
Yes.
say a brief history. This originated from this original letter that went to all of the towns
Right.
From West Hartford, Connecticut.
Huh?
And then we discussed this a couple of times, and there were some comments, and Councilor Stetson tried to accommodate some of those comments and drafted this other resolution. So it's here again for discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess I'll begin. seeing
Sure.
That I'm the one that revised it.
Sure.
In an attempt to address some of Charlie's concerns with respect to wording. You know, obviously this is a very polarizing issue and a very sensitive issue. I did not have an agenda, as one of the audience of citizen speakers mentioned earlier this evening. If I do, it is only to address this issue from a very sensitive perspective. And while I know this resolution really doesn't hold a lot of weight, really what the goal was to just simply ask Congress to provide funding. And I know that there's some folks who say that there has already been a lot of funding for this research. There really has not. All I'm asking is that we support a resolution that moves this the bill that passed in the House of Representatives over 9 months ago. If this would please get to the Senate and addressed in the Senate, that is being blocked for political reasons. You know, I'm going to state the obvious. I mean, the NRA funded the current president's campaign with millions and millions and millions of dollars. And as a result, that is what's stalling this issue from moving through the Senate. You know, once again, really my goal here was to just simply ask that this just be addressed, that gun reform be addressed. You know, I have met people over the last couple of years and spoken with individuals who have lost their babies, whose babies were executed in their classrooms. And I can't imagine that any one of you who spoke to these people would think that there is not some kind of reform that's necessary and required, because we are the only civilized country in the world where this is consistently happening, where our kids are getting executed at school. You know, and even when you were talking earlier about mental health issues, that requires funding, that requires research. So, you know, to shoot this resolution down completely is a concern to me. I revised it and had asked other members of the council to also take a look at it and revise it so that we could all maybe pass this in a nonpartisan and a bipartisan fashion, the way that the town of West Hartford did. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, so I took it upon myself to revise it and try to address some concerns that other members of the council had. But, you know, I want to read something, a couple of statements. And one is unbearable agony. That's the only way I know how to describe what I felt that day. The day my son called to tell me that there was an active shooter at school and that he couldn't find his sister Jamie. The day my wife and I tried desperately to call and text her, only to be met with silence. The The day my 14-year-old daughter, Jamie, was murdered running down the hallway at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, trying to escape a gunman with an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle. That day and that feeling changed me forever. My name is Eden Hebron, and I was in room 1216 at Marjorie Stoneman on February 14th, 2018. It was Valentine's Day, a day of love and happiness. I was in fourth period English sitting next to my best friend Alyssa. We were catching each other up on our days and couldn't stop laughing even though we were supposed to be writing an essay. But our silliness was suddenly interrupted by the sound of gunshots. Fear took over my mind, shock took over my body. We dove under a table and listened as the gunshots got closer and closer until finally the sound was coming from right outside the door of our classroom. The glass of the door shattered, and within seconds, Alyssa was struck with bullets. She was dying. My best friend, who I had been laughing with only 2 minutes before, was dying on the floor of our classroom. I can't imagine that anybody who has had to identify their massacred babies and put them in the ground wouldn't in some way want to address this and instead remain inactive and not call for some kind of gun reform. Once again, this is a resolution. It is just asking for action by Congress, by the Senate, to address issues that need to be addressed. With respect to mental health, it is true that that mental illness is a cause of violence in America, but I just got finished reading an article that was written by a nonpartisan professor of psychology at the University of Virginia, and he said there are two things that typically happen in the wake of a mass shooting. First, politicians claim that mental illness is the major cause of violence in America. Then, advocates for people with mental illness respond by denying there is any relationship whatsoever between mental illness and violence. Both groups are wrong. Research shows that the association between mental illness and violence exists, is not strong, but does exist. So there's so many facets to this. And once again, there was no agenda here with the revision of this resolution, but rather just some attempt at trying to push along what is at a stalemate right now in Washington.
Okay, thank you. Joanne? What else? Speak on the resolution? No, we already had our audience of citizens. Sorry. So it's council discussion now. So I can start after Joanne. No doubt, we know the issues that are going on in our country. No doubt, no one wants to see any of these issues occur. Take it from one, spent 30 years in federal law enforcement and helped out at Sandy Hook after the massacre. Everybody in law enforcement chipped in. It's a horrible time, horrible things occurred, and arrested many, many people with weapons, all of them criminals, over 30 years in the DEA. But the only thing, what concerns me with the resolution, not the issue is an issue that our country needs to deal with, and it's horrible, as we know. No one is for violence of any kind. That's the obvious. I just fear that for the Council of Berlin to go down the road, we know it's a very complicated issue. We really know that. There's no easy answers. The whole country's looking for answers, and hopefully we can find something to prevent the violence. But I fear that with this resolution, if we vote for it, what's the next problem? Maybe a resolution on immigration, maybe one on impeachment, maybe one on the border wall, maybe one on green power. I don't know. I mean, I think that in the town charter, that's not our job. It's not within our purview to talk to Congress. Our purview is to talk to the people of Berlin and to settle the issues in Berlin, to handle the budget, to handle all the other things that we need to do in town. We just had an agenda tonight and every night filled with things we need to get done in Berlin. So I really fear that this is not the place for this. It's certainly great for the discussion. I think that's wonderful. And for public forums and for people signing petitions and individuals on their own writing Congress and talking to their congressmen on what they want to see from Congress. That's our right as citizens of the United States, and that's what we should be doing. But I don't think it's the business of the town council of Berlin to send that message to Congress. I just think that's not a road we should be going down. And I've had a couple, and I've said this to a couple people, and a couple of people said to me, you know, we just did a resolution, anti-toll resolution, as an example. So that resolution, again, in my mind, this is my opinion, was directly affecting Berlin. The initial plan from the governor, and of course we all know it's gone through a million different plans, but the initial plan was we tailed that resolution about tolls because it looks like tolls were going to be put on Route 9 and the Berlin Turnpike, and we were concerned with how that affected the town roads and Berlin directly. So I would distinguish that from a resolution like this that's going to Congress with a lot of things in here that, you know, I don't know. No one knows what the solution is. But so I don't think the council should be involved in these discussions. I think we have plenty of time. We have plenty of issues which take up all of our time with Berlin issues that we should be focused on. That's my issue with this. Yes. Yes, sir.
A year ago, I would have agreed with you that.
Peter, can you get on the mic?
Sure. A year ago, I would have agreed with you that we shouldn't bother with this. However, the majority took it upon themselves to argue an anti-toll resolution that wasn't going anywhere, and they set a precedent. The distinction of the subject has nothing to do with it. You've set a precedent. We are merely following that precedent. Now, whether the topic you like or you don't like, vote up or down. But to say that we have no business discussing this was valid a year ago or whenever we discussed the anti-toll. If you recall, before that, we had a resolution that someone wanted us to bless the merger between CVS, I believe, and one of the insurance companies. But we didn't do that. That's not our job. But once you set a precedent, I mean, I see no problem with discussing this. We don't have to discuss it all night. But, you know, to the subject, I just say, you know, all I heard for 8 years of the Obama administration was they're going to take our guns. Well, nobody took your guns. All we're doing is asking Congress to do their job. And for that guy to get his head out of the sand down there and let the legislation that was duly passed in the House at least be voted on. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Anyone else?
I'll go. Yes. You know, a few years ago, Peter, I would have agreed with you. People aren't going to take your guns, and you'd be laughed at because you can't take that seriously. I mean, even Bernie Sanders in a campaign stop just a couple weeks ago said that to the supporters that were in his room, that it's not going to happen. But, you know, you have at least 20 Democrat people running for president that have almost all said they're coming for your guns. So it makes people nervous. You have a constitutional amendment that protects that right. You have a state constitution that confirms that right. You know, when I look at the wording here, most of this is just political propaganda, and it's not full of facts. It's why I can't support it. You know, I also read some articles. I got a whole file here in articles, and I'm not going to go through them. But there's a great article, and it was a precursor to a book written by Andrew Pollack, the father from Parkland who lost his daughter. And, you know, like every other parent that goes through these tragedies, and so we all wonder why do these things happen? And what he discovered down there is policies created by the previous presidential administration and supported by the school district and supported by the law enforcement in that community accepted grant money to keep kids in their schools that were criminals that committed crimes. And the thing is, it was mostly because of political correctness. They didn't want to kick the kids out of school. So that kid in Florida should have had a record. He should have never been able to get a weapon. He should have been arrested many times. He threatened people. I mean, the things he did would have put any one of us in jail. But they let it go because he was a kid in school. And that father's upset about it. He found out about it. He's letting parents know. And I think everybody should go read his book because it's still going on today in schools across the country. Okay, that kid needed help. He shouldn't have been in school. And, you know, the comment by this parent was, it was the most avoidable mass murder in American history. And I kind of agree with him. It should have been stopped. You know, and I see Mr. Kobus here mention something in our school. You know, why are we closing the bathrooms in our schools? Because we don't want to get the kids in trouble? I mean, did that ideology creep into our schools? I mean, really? So for me, this is political propaganda. I mean, I'm against all violence. Same thing Charlie said a few weeks ago. You know, keep it simple. To go down this road, I think, is foolish. Sorry.
Else? Yes, sir.
I feel gun violence is a symptom of a much greater problem in our country. Connecticut already has the most strict gun laws in the country. It makes a lot of law-abiding citizens felons. By passing retroactive laws, our government has consistently implemented more and more programs eroding individual responsibility and family interaction. If each one of us took the time to understand when somebody close to us needs help, we wouldn't need a counselor that only sees our child a few hours a day to prevent a tragedy.
That's you know, a statement, Charlie, that is so. There are so many parents out there that are, you know, inept as to, you know, or don't identify the signs that you know, that their kids are.
I'm not saying we should eliminate all counselors. I'm saying parents and other family members should pay attention to each other. To stop the personal ownership of guns by law-abiding citizens because of actions of criminals and deranged individual makes about as much sense as stopping ownership of cars, because some people might choose to drive impaired and endanger the safety of others. At the beginning of the meeting, I pledged allegiance to the flag, and I consider the Constitution an important part of our republic. Chipping away at the Second Amendment rights is a violation of this oath. Illegal drugs are already outlawed. How's that working out? Passing more laws and restricting constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens won't help anybody. You know, if you want to look at leaders that were experts in gun control, look at Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, Mao Zedong. How'd that work out for the disarmed citizens? I can't support this in good conscience.
Charlie? Donna, anything?
The only thing that I will say, do I have to push this thing or?
No, you're on. It's on. You got the red light on. You're on.
Is that the state of Connecticut has passed many laws and restricted quite a few things in terms of high capacity ammunition, etc. I believe that we have a right to bear arms, and I think that I agree with the three people that sit to the left of me. It's not something that I would vote for. It's been a culture in my family where my children hunt, they target shoot, we hunt for venison, rabbit. I have children that can't even buy ammunition to put in those guns because of the ridiculous laws that have been passed in this state. Don't have my vote on this one.
Mike, anything?
I guess, you know, obviously I read through the resolution and how it would affect everybody. The issue I always have with guns is, again, I'm not against the Constitution. I think everybody has a right to bear arms for sure. I think that one of the things that we're looking at are assault rifles, which, you know, obviously we can talk about semantics and take a look at actual wording, but do we really need things like that in society? You know, assault rifles, as far as I know, you know, on the battlefield, that's kind of where they are. Do we need them when we go hunting? I agree with hunting wholeheartedly. I think it's a great thing. My kids really want to get into it as well. I don't do it, but it's something that if they're interested in it, I'd like for them to do that. I just don't know, and I don't feel comfortable with having something that's deemed an assault rifle that can rip apart an animal is something that is good for hunting. We spend an awful lot of money here in this town on safety for schools to make sure that we can keep our children as safe as possible. And I think that along with that goes the what we talked about before is the mental health education, the mental health issues that are really popping up a lot with our young children. There is an issue. Being a parent, being pulled in all kinds of different ways, myself, my wife, on trying to deal with how our children are growing up in this society. And there is a need for what a lot of people like to say is a village to help raise children. I think we all kind of were part of one in one way or another, whether it's a big family or a group of friends. But the village is disintegrating these days. There's a lot of different things that pull villages in different ways. Hopefully, I mean, obviously, ideally, we'd all like to get back to that situation. Right now, going along with something that Joanne said, there are issues that counselors can recognize before they get into bigger issues that parents sometimes don't see or are unable to see or not educated to see. I just have an issue, again, getting back to whatever what I was talking about here was the assault part of this weapon situation. And I really wholeheartedly feel that we don't need that type of a weapon in society hunting. So I would agree with the resolution.
Could you just explain to me what an assault weapon is? What makes one gun an assault weapon and not another?
I can tell you honestly that I'm not completely educated on that situation. And I think that an assault weapon to me, in a term, and what I've seen in some stories that I've read and some news stories that I've read, that some of these weapons can repeatedly pump ammunition into animals and targets and whatever over and over and over again. That's something that I don't think is necessary when you're hunting.
Well, automatic weapons, machine guns, have been outlawed in this country for many years. The semi-automatic weapon is a very common hunting rifle. And I'm trying to understand, even the Connecticut law isn't clear on what makes one an assault weapon from another one. A lot of hunters and a lot of honest target shooters were made felons by these retroactive laws. In Boy Scouts years ago, everybody used semi-automatic 22 short rifle for target practice, and it held probably 20 rounds. It was a long tube. Maybe you had one if you went to Boy Scout camp. And the counselor would put 15 or 20 rounds in that semi-automatic rifle. If you're caught with one of those now, you're a felon. I mean, to me, that's not logical to restrict honest people like that. I think those Boy Scout counselors weren't felons. I don't think they were good guys.
Agreed.
They are now.
The AR-15 rifle is considered an assault weapon, or is it considered a rifle?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find. Is it the plastic stock that scares people, or the action of the weapon, or the size of the magazine? I mean, people use that term, but no one's ever really defined it. Connecticut has a list of about 20 rifles, and then it says, well, and whatever else we think might be one.
Yeah, I mean,
Scary kind of law.
that part, you know, we're kind of, to me, into the weeds where we shouldn't even be. But since we went there, just in my experience in law enforcement, I've seized many weapons over the 30 years in L.A. and New York and Hartford and Bridgeport. Probably the most weapons I seized was in Hartford from drug traffickers. But what's interesting is many of them that were maybe considered assault weapons, whatever the term was, I would bring it to our gun task force. State police has a gun task force, and they couldn't even figure out if it was illegal or not, which was interesting to me. They would make a determination, obviously, once they examine the weapon, but it is a very murky area. But again, we're well into the weeds, and hence my concern. That's my concern with this issue. Any issue like this, again, we could go down the road of a million issues that are affecting our country today. I just don't think the debate's great. I think it's great discussion that we've all had tonight. I think that's wonderful. But, and we're certainly, again, stating the obvious, no one wants to see any violence with weapons or baseball bats or anything else. But just not, council time should not be spent on this. I just don't think this is appropriate for the council to get involved in. We have enough to do with our town business. And I don't think sending messages to Congress, I think that's on our own individual, right to do that, or citizens signing petitions, or talking to your elected representatives, or whatever you wish to do to communicate. That's your right as a U.S. citizen. But for the council to get involved in this, which is just so murky and political and, just everything else that's involved in it, I don't get it. That's why I would vote no, and I don't even want to bring it to the floor because, again, once we pass this one, Peter, I know you said we set a precedent with the tolls. I mean, I disagree, obviously, with that's distinguished from what this is. But so the next issue is immigration. So let's have a resolution on immigration, and we can have that debate for the next 10 years and not agree.
I'll write
right?
one. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I get it. I mean, right? I mean, it's immigration. It's everything else. These issues that the federal government needs to deal with, and not the Berlin Town Council. I don't think that's why the voters put us here. I think they put us here to deal with Berlin town business, and I don't think this is Berlin town business for the council time. The debate is for a public forum somewhere else, maybe, but I don't think it's for here. So I wouldn't, we had our discussion, I wouldn't call for a motion myself. I think it's just not something we should be debating, and we've, again, for the reasons stated.
For adoption.
What's that?
I'd like to move for adoption of the
Okay.
resolution.
But we have a motion.
You're the one that you proposed to.
Second.
We have a second. We have further discussion? No further discussion? We'll go ahead and poll the council on this vote. So how do we vote on this one? We'll start with Mike.
Because I think
All those in favor?
I abstain.
Huh?
I abstain.
You abstain? Okay, one abstention. Joanne?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote nay for the reasons I stated.
No.
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 Okay. The motion fails. All right. Thank you all very much. Sensitive issue, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But and great discussion. But I think we have other town business that we need to attend to as the council under the charter. Thank you all very much. All right, we are now to our topic 12, which is the appointment of town council members to subcommittees. So we've got our list here. And we have the first committee is our budget committee, which we're all on. So, right, we'll just it's the council, it's our budget discussion, and obviously Donna is, new council member Mike, so you're on that committee. We're all here, one big happy family when it comes to the budget. Be a fun time in the spring. Ordinance committee, I know Joanne, you sent me something. You're on. So I think the ordinance committee, if we're okay with it, we would just stay the same. We have everybody on it. Peter, you're on it. Brendan, Charlie, Joanne, and myself. That's okay. The audit committee, I don't even know what the audit committee does. Brendan's on it, but
We don't need one really anymore, right?
that's our question. What do we think about the audit committee? Is it something, because now we have the Board of Finance, do we not really have an audit committee, or should we keep it? Kate, what do you think?
What does Kevin say?
Yeah, where's Kevin? Deserted us.
Don't blame him.
No, exactly. What do we think? Should we just keep it for now? And
I think that Councilor Luddy could best answer that as far as your involvement with the audit.
Yeah, I'll talk to Kevin. Maybe, the audit's about to come out, right?
Yep.
So.
I mean, we have the town auditors. Maybe you guys, did you meet with the auditors like in the past?
We did before, before the finance board, I'm sorry, we did before in the past, but
Okay.
I kind of think that, that this got overtaken by that, but.
Maybe.
Okay, so no audit committee?
Well, you know what? It's Brendan, it's Joanne, and Charlie right now. Why don't we just leave it for now, and let's talk to Kevin and see what we think about it, because I might agree that it might have been overtaken by the Board of Finance, but I don't know.
It might, Mayor,
Right?
if I may.
Yeah, sure.
That, the Rules and Procedure Committee
Okay, that's the next one. Yes.
hasn't really met. And I think it's an important committee to kind of review what our rules and procedures are, because there has been changes since the charter was adopted with the Board of Finance.
So we need somebody for Karen.
And right now, these 4 committees are standing committees, but it might give them an opportunity to review the importance of all 4 committees. If you're, if that's something that you would like to look at.
I think we keep it. We can keep it so Donna requested to be on it, and then somebody replaced Karen.
I think I
Mike,
requested
Mike, you want to be on it? Okay, that's good. So yeah, we'll.
So it would be Donna,
It's going to be
Mike.
Donna, Mike, and Charlie, who was a previous member. We'll keep that. Yeah, I see. That's one of the standing ones. I get it. So now we are on to the Physical Services Committee. We were going to put Charlie in place of Alex, Brendan, and Peter. You want to stay on it? I don't even know if that's ever met. Has that?
No, not really.
No. So, I mean, we'll
Keep it, yeah.
probably what we should do is maybe if we get some free time on the council, maybe, I don't know, should we review some of these? If they never meet, what's the point, right? But
It could go through the Rules and Procedure Committees.
Okay.
And then have them give some weigh-in
Okay. So
on this, and then we can definitely put it on the agenda for discussion.
Okay.
I think that would be great.
Let's do
Because
that.
some of these have kind of,
Right. If we could streamline it and not just put people on committees that we don't ever meet, what's the point of that? If other committees could handle, if business does come up, I think you're right, Kate, that's what we need to make sure. If business does come up that, let's say, the Physical Services Committee would have to handle, maybe another committee can handle it. Right? I don't know, but
right.
have to
You
look at-
want to just,
You want to wait for the rest of them too?
yeah, or if you
Or-
want to,
Let-
I would suggest at least the Playing Fields Committee be appointed,
Yes.
because that is active.
Yes. So that, talk to Brendan, Peter, if you guys are kind of standing members, and Donna she kind of asked to be on it, since she's familiar with some of
very
that.
involved with it.
You have an interest in that, Mike?
Interest in that?
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, can we add?
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, then put Mike on too.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, and then,
Before we get that far, what's the Robert Wolf incentive plan? Do we know what that one's for?
The stipend for the firemen.
For the firemen, yeah.
Okay, that's right.
Charlie's going on already.
Charlie's on that one. So I'm on it. I'll stay on it. Charlie and
There was this,
Aaron replacement. One of you guys want to
Any-
go on that
any
one?
interest in
Joanne, Mike, the Robert Wolf incentive plan. It's the fireman. Want to go? Joanne or Mike? No. Mike?
A couple of them.
No. Peter?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll stick with me and Charlie. We can handle it.
Yep.
Because I don't recall ever having a meeting, but we'll handle it if there is. Okay. How about that? CCM, that's just the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. I'm on it, but again, that's just we all can attend those meetings, and that's not. I have never seen anything with that either. The Central Connecticut Health District Committee. Did Joanne want that? I wanted it. Donna was interested. What do you want to do? Joanne?
Did Joanne want
Joanne?
to do it?
You want to do it, Joanne?
Oh, sure, go ahead, she can do it.
You got it.
Fine.
Good. I don't honestly know when they meet either, but I think don't we have representatives on the Connecticut Health District,
have
the
town-
board, right? On the
you have town,
town reps on the board, right? Yeah. So okay. So that's just an addition to that. That's fine. And we also had the Technology Committee. Joanne was on it. Alex and Brendan. Donna was interested in it. You want to be on that?
Alex is
why I'm on it. I
Yeah.
suck at technology.
Whatever.
No idea why I'm on it.
Well, hey, what the heck? I'm not sure that committee's ever met either, but if you want,
You want it, Mike?
All right, Mike.
Did, yeah.
Mike and Donna will be and Brendan.
Yes.
Brendan's pretty technologically savvy, right?
Ah.
think?
Make my way through.
All right, all right. We got the planning committee, we got tech.
Beyond that.
Plan and development, I'll stay on it. That's because of my planning and zoning background. That's every, how many years do we go over the plan and development?
years.
Every 10 years. I don't know, we coming up on it? Probably. No?
No.
I think it's probably maybe 6 years out.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Yes, that's a very painful
Yep.
thing. So let's hope it's out for a while. Yeah, that's very difficult. Okay, the fire strategic committee. I'm not.
I think I had said that I would take Alex's spot.
Okay.
I don't know if there's somebody else that wants to do Karen's spot.
Aaron Spa. I don't know what I don't honestly don't know what they do. I don't remember any meetings with them either.
And again, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Some of
so we'll
these
look at
really
some of
haven't
these.
met. You
Okay.
may want to revisit the whole
Mhm.
need.
Let's do that. Okay, well, let's star that one. We're going to star the physical services one too, just for the heck of it. And maybe the technology one too, just to see if what they do for now. And now we're down to community conversations. It was myself, it's Joanne, and it was Alex. Brendan was interested.
Brendan was going to take Alex's spot.
All right, so why don't we do that for now? But that's another one. I'm not sure if we've ever met on that one either. I don't believe. Have we?
Conversations, okay,
I
so
don't think
we'll
we've ever met.
I can recall.
No. All right, so we'll start the community conversations.
Yep.
We're just gonna. I'm just starring like
Starring it.
4 of them to as we
Brendan
do
was-
our review to see if they're
And Brendan was going to take
worthwhile.
Alex's.
Brendan will be on that one, but that may, if we can eliminate it, we will. We have the manager's evaluation. Myself, Brendan, it was Karen, but really, I think the whole council has been involved in that.
Last time
So
we did it was the whole
whole council. So that would just be a whole council. I don't even know if we need a. I don't even know if we need a committee for that, but I guess we can have it. I think the whole
I
council.
think the start of it, Mayor, was that somebody would kind of initiate the actual evaluation.
Okay.
And it hasn't really been done because of a lot of the changes.
Okay.
But it was.
We all
where-
did the last one.
We all
if
did
you
the last
recall.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it was but it was somebody coming up with the questions
Yes.
so that then you had the evaluation. It
Yes.
wasn't just one person evaluating.
No.
It was a one person,
With the questions.
yeah.
But I thought.
I think did a compilation.
Yeah, I think though Denise did that for us, right? She kind of came up.
HR, she should-
HR did that, and then we, I think, all had our input with the questions, and then we decided those were the questions, right? I believe.
Okay,
So,
so you want all council members?
yeah, just put all counselors on that. I mean, we're going to be involved in it anyway. The meeting house, Joanne, you're still interested?
Yep.
You're on it. Donna was interested. Okay, Donna. Mattabassett Watershed. Charlie was interested for Alex Peter. You still interested?
Sure.
Okay, and then the calendar, the prize goes to Brandon Bloody for the calendar. That's the very exciting, stimulating committee of one. Pick some dates for our meetings.
Meetings this year?
Yeah, 2 meetings.
Yeah.
2 meetings
I
for the whole
worked
year.
very well
Yeah.
on it.
Right. So, okay, so that's settled those, and then
For a holiday every month this year. No, just kidding.
to punish us as the member of the calendar committee, you do what you have to do. So, Kate, what do you think we should do with some of these that I starred to maybe eliminate?
Well, what I'm going to suggest, first of all, is that I'm going to come up with a list of who I think is on these committees
Okay, yep.
and ask that you revisit them, and if I've made any mistakes or
Let me
there's
know.
somebody
I
that
took
doesn't want
notes.
to be on
I was- I
something,
got
let
the
me know.
notes.
We
right.
should have a committee to see which committee.
What committee?
to eliminate.
We need a committee. Yeah, let's have another committee, right? We
Yeah.
should have a couple committees.
And then what I
Always
would
need another committee.
Yeah.
suggest is who's going to be on the Rules and Procedures Committee to kind of, I'll try to come up with some history on these so that on some of them I know it, but on others, if you can give me any feedback or anything,
We got Donna, Mike, and Charlie,
we
so they can handle it.
we can revisit them. And are they necessary?
Yeah.
They're- You know, these are just simple committees that have evolved through time. That doesn't mean that that they're still necessary.
Yes.
The other thing I will stress very much is that sometimes these committees met, but there was no agenda, no minutes,
Okay.
nothing. So that hurts where we don't know what they were doing.
Yes. Okay.
But we've gotten a lot better with that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, I don't know. In my last 4 years, and we've all of us, other than the 2 members, have been here now for a while. Certainly, Charlie and Brendan much longer than and Peter than us. But you know, council kind of deals with most everything these days, which I think it's fair. It all comes to the council anyway, even if the committees talk about it, it seems to come, if there's any meaningful vote for the town, it's coming to the council.
And that's why you may not need these committees.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
You know?
So, but, we can figure it out before we eliminate something and realize we, maybe made an error. So, all right, so good. We're good on that. We'll study that. And now that brings us to the town manager report.
Excellent. So, I'll keep this brief, just a few updates from what's happening with the town manager's corner here. Part of I'm looking at the things that the town manager needs to do. One of the things, I sent a memo out to all my department heads about the blighted properties.
Yes.
That's a list that I need to create. In 30 days, I'll get back. In 60 days, I need to go and do all the homework with the appropriate staff, put it on a list, and 30 days after that, bring it to you. And then we have a discussion about that, and then put it on the blighted list. We have a couple of properties we're already working with that.
While we're talking about that,
77.
the favorite.
We're trying to move it along.
Okay.
We are.
So
Yeah, we had one property a different property that they took care of the front and not the back.
Okay.
So,
But
we'll get those squared away.
Our favorite.
We have the order entered as a judgment at this point.
Okay.
So we're pursuing a supplemental order.
Okay.
Because there are some additional things that do need to be done.
Yes.
So
I think
it's the last go through. So yeah.
that's right. The town did a lot of work on that property. It's a blighted property next to someone's, home, and I don't care where it is, but this one in particular has been there for many, many, many years. Yep. And we finally tracked down the owner and got it, changed our ordinance a little bit and fixed it, but it needs more fixing, and I know now we can't find the owner.
It is a property that there's sort of no end in sight with.
Yes, seems to be.
And people understand, I mean, these are private properties.
Right.
The town cannot just go in and do whatever it would like.
Yep.
So,
It presents quite a problem.
Yeah, I mean, because the court is always concerned with notice.
Right.
Certainly.
No, I mean, we certainly understand we're going on people's private property, but as it affects the use of others, right, which is, I'm sure, why we're able to get a court to allow us to go on someone's property that's vacant and fix it. And fortunately, I don't think we have too many in town anyway, so, right? I mean, we don't.
You don't.
Yeah, we're pretty fortunate as far as that goes,
We work with other towns that have hundreds of properties that are blighted.
What do we have, 5?
No, we got more than that.
10?
We got some commercial property too, right? That I don't think is on the list. So, again.
Okay, we're working on it.
We'll do a comprehensive list.
Okay.
And try to clean that up,
Highway, there's a couple.
Yeah, right. That's right, there is. Okay. Well, yeah, no, I appreciate whatever you can do. I mean, we need to clean that up. That's not right.
Just a heads up on that one. We're working on that.
Right.
I also want to just inform you about another one that town manager is supposed to do is to send the ethics policy to all of the staff, and they are required, according to the ethics policy, to acknowledge the receipt of the policy and to say that they will abide by the ethics policy. And to my surprise,
is there a problem?
Yeah, the bargaining units, the unions have historically inclined or advised their staff union members not to sign it. So it was a little bit shocking to me where I come from. Your employer says, if you work here, you got to do this. They pretty much sign it. But having said that, I have asked them why, and they've pretty much given some reasons, and I'm reaching out to our labor council to see what can be done. They're pretty much saying, in summary, that they're going after what was done with New Britain, which is only for elected officials and appointed officials, and they don't want to sign it.
Okay.
So I'm on it. I spoke to Jeff. Jeff said start with Labor Council, understand and I'm trying to understand what is it that they're really objecting to, and then we need to resolve it either way. We can't say you have to sign it and the union
They
saying,
refuse.
"Oh, we are not going to sign it."
I mean, I wonder, I mean, I'm just thinking back to my government days. I mean, we didn't, I don't believe we had an ethics policy, but we had standards of conduct
Yep.
that we all had to sign. I wonder if, and I know the police department, we had a
Yep.
issue with the ethics policy, but we all agreed on the council, remember to say that they had their own
Absolutely.
standards of
Right.
conduct which
Yep.
covered ethics in it. I wonder if standards of conduct might be a better way to look at it. That's what every year with our evaluations, we had to sign a standards of conduct, which included ethical
Yep.
questions or rules. So maybe that's a better way to look at it, because to me, as a government employee, you know, federal, state, or local, there has to be some standards of conduct along with ethics, of
so.
course. So that's disturbing to me. I mean, I understand unions and I understand, you know, it's not in their contract, but I mean, that's kind of basic stuff for government employees, that you need to act and agree to act in a certain way. So maybe there's a way with standards of conduct we can tweak it that they might
Yep.
be happier with it. You know, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out from past experience. But
Absolutely. I mean, I want to understand
Whatever
their
you can do.
concerns and address it and see what we can.
yeah, I mean, I get their concern. You know, if they negotiated things, I understand, but maybe there's a way around it. So.
In terms of planning for fiscal year 2021, Kevin and his team, they've done a remarkable job getting units to provide their capital budgets, personnel budgets, operating budgets. It's all here. We're putting the packages together, getting ready for the budget cycle.
Oh, joy.
One of the things I would like to do is looking at the capital request that was sent. There's a 10-year capital plan, and it's fairly extensive, and hoping we can have a joint meeting, presentation with the council and the Board of Finance, not to make decisions, but
Presentation.
informational presentation.
Oh, that'd be
right?
good, yeah.
Because I want everyone to have the facts and the data. Because
be great.
there were a couple of meetings at the fire department, and they presented the need that they have to Board of Finance. I want you to have the same information, so we can all look at the same data and come up with a plan on how to address those things. So I'll try to coordinate that after the holidays.
Yeah, that'd be good, because I think last year we felt, so those of us that were on the council before the Board of Finance, right? So, you know, we got all that information and firsthand, even though it was a lot of time expended, but at least I thought we've then had the basis to make our budget decisions. I thought with the implementation of the Board of Finance, that the council, unless you went to the meetings yourself, which I think we encouraged everyone to do, but, you know, it was a little bit different. It kind of backed out of it a little bit, and then now we're here faced with that final budget decision. I don't think we all had, you know, you really had to kind of study it on your own, which is tough to do. It's not the most exciting subject all the time, but it's our job. But so maybe we can work that out somehow, where maybe we don't go to every single meeting, but we get that information, or we have a couple joint meetings when they're having presentations. I think during the budget year, like we used to go to those, the whole council would go to those. That would be good, right? You guys that were here before, I mean, I think we need that, because we need the explanation. I mean, it's great to read it. I think we all read it on paper, but you know, you got to hear what the fire department wants, or what the police department, you know, whatever entity, public works, school system, whatever. We need to hear that, I think, in a verbal.
Yeah, and
right?
And the guys and ladies keep coming to me and say, you know, this is what we want.
Yes.
And I'm saying, well, you gotta go to the board.
Yeah, right. I know.
You know,
Yes,
but
it's kind
I
of
mean,
a-
I'm their, you know, they know me, and they know you
Yeah.
and Joanne.
Yeah.
They come to us normal, you know, as normal course of business.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind to be in on the ground level.
Yeah,
you know.
okay, so that's good. And I think it's still growing pains with the Board of Finance. I mean, it's great that they have more time just to focus on the budget, and we have other things to focus on, but budget time, we all should focus on the budget, obviously, and I agree, you know, we need to be in the ground floor, so when we have those final discussions, we certainly know everything there is to know, right, before we make those decisions, yes. If you work that out, that'd be great.
Just so that you're aware of this, remember some time ago we got a letter from DOT about a couple of bridges in poor condition, the Glen Street Bridge and the Kensington Road Bridge that's right out here. So we've been working on the Glen Street on our own, trying to figure out the cost, the funding. Going through DOT will take quite a few years, and it appears that they would want to close the road.
Close the
If
road.
it's going to take 3 to 5 years, that's long. So
Fix the bridge?
to get the funding from
Oh, to get the
DOT.
funding.
It's a long.
Oh, but it needs it now.
Yeah. So we believe there is a fix that we can do probably next summer. It'll last for 25 years. Not a $3 million fix, maybe $500,000 fix. Okay. So which is fine. You've probably already seen there are signs posted there. There's a 7-ton limit on that bridge. So last week we got a notification from DOT saying that they want to put a 8-ton limit on this Kensington Road Bridge as well.
Okay.
Because according to their own study, they feel that they need to restrict the weight. So I spoke with Mike. We're going to try to do our own work and see if that is necessary. We'll have to put the signs. When they say you have to put the signs, you got to put the signs. So, and then with that particular bridge, we have already had conversations with CROG to get external funding for that particular. It's not in critical shape. The Glen Street one is the one that's in worse condition than the Kensington Road Bridge.
So 8 tons is what? I mean, what would be over 8 tons that would go over that bridge and a
One of
road
our
like?
plow trucks,
What? They're over 8 tons?
33,000 pound GVWs on the one they spec.
Yeah.
So that's
It's a little.
that's a little interesting then, huh?
Yeah, you got more than you think out there.
Yeah.
The heavy duty wreckers.
The wreckers, right? Probably
The heavy duty wreckers are, and anything over 26,000 pounds is 8 ton.
So the plow trucks, that's a
And the other one
that's a problem right there.
Yeah.
Can we do the short-term fix on Kensington Road, or we're going to
Well,
fix that?
So that's still, we're having the conversation. Part of what we are struggling with is the DOT, when they're giving funds through CROG, they want to do a 75-year fix. They don't want to come back and look at it in 30 years, right? So, which is good. So part of it is, here town, we're giving you $3 million, fix the road, but we're going to tell you what that means.
Right.
So this bridge has a box culvert and one of those smaller corrugated steel type of pipes.
Yep.
They want to demolish all that and probably have a clear span bridge, which is problematic. If they want to do that, they want to close the road. And I worry about closing Kensington Road because it's heavily used. And so one of the piece of conversation that we're talking is whether we can do one half at a time. So it's too early to talk about that, but I want you to, very soon you're going to see those 8-ton signs going up, and don't want to wonder what's going on. And it's a DOT direction. We're going to follow it, but we're going to hire one of our engineers to go and just look at it and then come up with a counter proposal. And they'll look into it because a lot of the times they take the very precautionary extreme measure just to be safe.
Yeah, that was going to be my last question was, certainly, obviously, they need to be fixed, but are they safe? Or
They are really
obviously
safe.
our town vehicles are going over it, and
Yeah.
other vehicles are going over it? And
They looked at it, Mike and our Public Works looked at it, there's nothing, even DOT themselves, they have not graded it at high risk.
Oh, okay.
So it's at a lower risk. And there's no caving in, or there's nothing that's giving out, so.
I mean, I assume they tested it.
Yeah,
somehow.
I don't know what they did. They said they looked at it.
That's
I don't know what that
comforting.
means.
Yeah, they looked at it.
We are not, at least they have not shared the test results. They said they have
Okay.
have a way of visiting and looking at these bridges every so many years.
Yeah, well, Connecticut has a bad history with bridges, right? Right.
Yeah.
That's one by the post office?
Yep, that's the one by
Yeah,
the
that
post
one
office,
there.
just past Vernon Street,
Well, I guess we'll have to go with what DOT tells us, but I hope they are comfortable that. But you said Mike looked at it? Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
So, more to come on that. Just
Okay.
Heads up. Just a quick, some on lighter side, Thanksgiving food distribution, Mike was there. this was my first event. It was spectacular. There was over 200 cars. I was pretty impressed with what Doug and his group do, social services, thoroughly organized. There's so much of, food donations, and it ran really well. I mean, you saw it.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I mean, obviously, there are some people that do need that service, and I think it's great that we can provide it for them. I mean, there's an awful lot of food that we give out, and I think it really speaks to how well this town works. And whenever we call people to action to help us out, not only getting the food, but also the various groups that put it together and that label things so that it moves. I mean, that was an unbelievably well-run organization. Just the fact that people were coming in, they were lined up obviously in the beginning, but the line went down very quickly, and I think it was great.
John, you were there a couple of years ago, and it was a nice event.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it. It was during the day.
So, so we're going to do another one.
There's one at Christmas, right?
Yeah, one before Christmas. We are doing one. I'm going to be there too. We'll send a notification if you want to just come and look at it. It's a very nice event, very well coordinated, well run, and it's nice we can do that. And
it's impressive too, considering they really don't have a lot of people that that assist with the effort. You know, it's really
Volunteers,
something.
So they need more volunteers too. Okay.
Take 'em.
Sure they will. Okay.
And then finally, this Saturday, Thanksgiving weekend, we have the tree lighting festival going on. Main Street will be closed from 3 to 7. So somewhere in between, around 5 o'clock, Santa's supposed to show up there, depending on North Pole traffic.
Well, Santa doesn't have to worry about traffic.
Yeah. Well, so that'll be a nice event. And Chris Edge and the group, they've organized some like stamping passports type of thing. So you can you visit a lot of the shops and get a stamp in there. And there's a $200 gift card or something that they have contributed. Just to get people out and see the stores and have some life and activity.
That's great.
So that's it for now.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks. We got our special committee reports. I don't believe there has been any, right? Did you have playing? You already talked about playing.
Brendan had.
Brendan, playing fields?
Yeah, we did have a playing fields committee, and they were, went through the reasonings for their number one requirement was to fix the girls softball field, and we talked about other discussions about future renovations to some of the other fields. Primarily, the high school probably might be next. Just looking at some options and maybe putting field turf somewhere else just to help with the scheduling of all the different sports and youth groups that we have, and trying to keep the fields in a condition where they can be used on a regular basis rather than having fields that we can't have lights on or having to re-turf constantly. So that's what the discussion was.
That's good. And where we at? Oh, acceptance of our minutes. So we got our
Amended.
What's that? Oh yes, they are.
One change.
We'll make one change. Charles, not Pagliaro, but Vanessa. We can make with that change. We'll take a motion.
One meeting. You see what you do to me?
Yeah, that's what happened.
I wanted you there, Charlie.
Motion to accept the meeting minutes from the town council meeting from October 29th, 2019.
Second on that?
Second as amended.
Mr. Pagliaro, second? Oh, or Mr. Ross. Okay, great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Abstentions.
And motion.
Charlie abstained. Right?
Charlie abstained. Yeah, he wasn't there. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Real quick, we didn't
Yes,
do
I'm
counselor
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
communication.
skipped right over that. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Right over that. In my zest to get out of here, I'm sorry. So,
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out
Yes.
to Charlie Colaresi for the veterans ceremony, which I thought was
Yes.
really beautifully
Good.
done.
You said that.
So he always does just a lovely job organizing that. It was really nice, and there was also a ceremony that evening at the high school that was also really beautiful.
That was phenomenal.
And my dad attended, and my mom, and my dad at one point was like in tears. So it was really moving, and there were a lot of wonderful people there. As a result, communicating with Karen Cody, or we've been playing phone tag. I'm trying to, forge some kind of coordinated effort, maybe to continue to somehow have the town involved in collecting over the course of the year for the hero boxes. They get put together
Yeah.
around this time of year. And also, Kate and I got to represent the town in the Good Cause Gifts fashion show,
Oh,
which
there we
was
go.
great fun. So, so that was a really nice thing.
Excellent.
Love to
Glad you brought that up.
support Good Cause Gifts. And,
Yes.
it's one of our shops in town, and
Right.
it benefits some wonderful people. So,
They had over 500 people
yeah, it
at
was
that event.
enormous.
Where was the event? At their shop?
No,
Where was
it's been at AquaTurf for the past.
Oh, okay.
It
Oh.
started off in one room, and now it's in
Oh, okay.
it's like three.
I got froze
enormous.
up. I didn't get a ticket this year.
Wonderful.
Oh.
They do a nice
Huh.
job.
Sold
Gotta
out.
know people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
What do I know?
Because
Sold out?
Yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic. Phenomenal, right? That's all good.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's good. Any other, I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Any other counselor communications?
Just to second what Arosh said
Yes.
about the giveaway, the food donation
Oh, yeah.
we gave away. I think it was great, and that hopefully we can make it out for the December 19th one.
Yes.
They said it's even, it's a little bit more emotional just because they give out gifts with the food too, but it's,
Oh, it's Chris, yeah.
it's just a great event.
On the 19th?
Yes, correct,
Crystal
yeah.
Creek on the
There'll be more communication about.
get something out.
Is it in the afternoon or something, I think?
I believe
Yeah.
so.
That's right. That's always tough to get there, but I
It goes on till about 7 o'clock, I think.
try to get there. Okay, so we had, all right, so we had our council communications, and we had our motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. All right, thank you all very much. Thank you. It's the end of our meeting.